Hello and welcome to the Everything F1 podcast with Sean and Coops. How are you, Coops?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be back. I know I've been away for a little while, but I was traveling. Anyone watching on YouTube might notice my happy face here on the Monza pit lane. It was good. It was a good week, good couple of weeks. I've been busy, but yeah, it's good to be back. And we are here, of course, to preview this week's United States Grand Prix in Texas. I suppose straight off the bat, immediate thoughts. Coda, good track, bad track. Texas, good race, bad race.
It's generally a decent race, but the track's great. It's one of the better tracks in the circuit. One of the helmet tilker successes, and we know we haven't had many of them over the years. Usually, when they're a success, they're absolutely brilliant, but when they're disastrous, they're really bad. There's never a kind of in between when it comes to tilker tracks.
No, that's certainly true. No, it is a good one. I remember right back from was it David Coulthard did the demo run in the Red Bull when it was still a big mound of dirt. Um, Back in I think it was 2011, like just 12 months before it debuted on the calendar. You think there's no way in hell they're going to race at that in 12 months, and they pulled it off. It's a good track. Yeah, it's the 5.513 kilometer circuit for its Grand Prix circuit for its Formula One layout. It does also host NASCAR, which is interesting. It's one of I think it's the only track in the world, isn't it, currently that hosts both race series.
Yeah, I don't think there's any others that I can think of. So,
The
anyone listening to this later can put it in the comments. Get us on our socials. We'll let us know.
Certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not a like for like because the Grand Prix circuit has 20 turns, it is 5.5 kilometers. The NASCAR circuit is only 17 turns, is 3.8 kilometers. So they take a huge chunk out of it, which is probably just as well for those NASCARs to not have to go around it as much. And even still, with three less, with like the best part of 2 kilometers less track, they still only go 6 seconds a lap quicker than the Formula One cars with
Wow.
2 kilometers less distance to travel.
You can't have too many right turns for NASCAR drivers. They get a bit confused.
They certainly do. They probably get up the first turn, turn left, and oh, where do I go now?
Yeah.
They don't do right turns. Yes, it is in Austin, Texas. Very interesting part of the world, I believe. If you've never been, if I'm not wrong, the slogan for Austin as a city is "Keep Austin Weird." Which is probably why it has this gigantic foreign international sporting series on it, because you couldn't say that about a lot of other parts in America, could you? Certainly not in Texas.
Definitely not. When they go in Texas, they go big, they go big.
They,
Yeah, it's
they certainly do. They certainly do. This is also where, if you remember, somebody found one of the trackside mics a couple of years ago
yeah.
and started screaming meow, meow into
Meow
it.
meow.
And top credit, if you remember, look it back up on YouTube. Crofty and Martin Brundle got great laughs out of that one. They weren't 100% sure what was happening. It was very funny to watch them try and professionally broadcast around that. The guy,
It was definitely one of those trying to stifle the giggles, which makes it worse. And then they had to just acknowledge the fact that someone was making the noise.
They did indeed. It was very good. So last year's Grand Prix, which was this time last year, trying to get the exact date of it. Last year's Grand Prix was the 20th of October last year, so very nearly exactly a year ago. Pole position was set by Lando Norris. The fastest lap, oddly, was Esteban Ocon in Alpine. The chances of that happening again are vanishingly slim. But, and this is the first big talking point that I want to get into in this episode, is that the podium last year was Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and Max Verstappen, which is almost exactly 12 months later, Ferrari's last 1-2. When we get to Mexico very soon, that's their last race win. So we're getting to the point of very awkward conversations are about to be had in the paddock around Ferrari. It was all going so well for them. This year has just been awful. So what do you think their opinion is going to be coming back to Cota this year? It's Charles's last win in Formula One. Like I said, it's the team's last 1-2. They don't have Carlos Sainz anymore. You wouldn't put a lot of money on Lewis Hamilton making the podium this weekend. Where as you sit there in your lovely blue Ferrari shirt, it's the Monza special if I'm not wrong. It's very
It is,
nice.
it is indeed.
What do you make of what Ferrari will make coming into this weekend?
Well, I think they've already kind of said that because there's speculation that is it John Elkman or Elkin, who has apparently there's speculation they could be looking at Christian Horner to come in. Now we've kind of written that off, and Christian Horner left Red Bull, and now officially, not that long ago, is completely gone. They've paid him off with an obscene amount of money, and he's basically phoned just about every team on the paddock. But there seems to be some kind of discussion that Christian could come into Ferrari because that's the answer to the problem. I don't know if it is. It might be. But if that's even a rumour, that kind of shows you where they're at because they made so many steps forward that they coming into the end of last season. Obviously, this part of the season last year they were up at the top, winning races, 1-2s, and then everyone was like, even we thought that like we're going to see 3-4 team battle or 3.5 team battle with
Hmm.
McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, and then Max Verstappen. Uh, and it's just, and then obviously we're like, this car's going to be great, and Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc probably beat Lewis Hamilton, but they'll be close. They'll help each other out, and it's just not happened. And Ferrari just have a tendency to Ferrari it, and
Well, the
yeah,
McLaren did, didn't it? Didn't they? But in the wrong way. They went
yeah,
full McLaren 2013.
they just got it wrong, and I don't know what they've done if they've went slightly wrong in the balance, or if they've not kind of developed as good as other cars have. I mean, what makes it worse just now is it looks like the Red Bull has taken a step. It
Hmm.
looks like the Mercedes has taken a bit of a step, and it doesn't look like McLaren is quite as far forward. So this isn't a foregone conclusion. The race is to the end of the season. I still think it's McLaren, one of their two drivers, that's going to win the championship. But I just don't think it's going to be quite as dominant and as clear. Uh, but anyone you listen to, any other like social media people that talk to, or even BBC or any other major outlets, Ferrari's not in the conversation for taking wins. That's probably the biggest part. That's the biggest thing that will hurt, and nobody really knows why.
No,
That
it's been a
that's
bit
the
of a weird
problem.
one. It's been a bit of a weird one, isn't it? And as you make the right point, Red Bull have made a bit of a step again. I'm not even sure if it's Red Bull have made a step. I think Laura Mekies has just told them, lads, put some parts on Yuki's car as well, please. Um, and stop favoring Max. Max is the generational talent he'll figure out for himself, which we've been saying for months. But looking at the standings now, after Singapore, obviously McLaren, who we'll get onto now in a second, won the championship in Singapore. They sit exactly double Mercedes Hall in second. They're on 650 to Mercedes 325. Mercedes have kind of stormed ahead of Ferrari. They're 25, 27 points ahead of them now, so they're more than a race win clear. And what's interesting now is Ferrari now sit in the very, very awkward position, again, coming around to the part of the season where they're more than a year without a win. Red Bull are only 8 points behind them now, and that is fully achievable by Max Verstappen on his own, with the odd point or two here and there from Yuki Tsunoda, because Lewis is struggling. Charles will do everything he possibly can, but like you said, I think Mercedes are a bigger factor now in this. Ferrari might risk dropping to fourth, and it is interesting because I was just pulling it up when the report was Fred Vasseur signed his multi-year air quotes extension the last day of July, which is just as the summer break started, which we all thought was a bit odd and a bit pointed. Just as Christian Horner is getting sacked, the Ferrari's like, nope, nope, we don't want him. We're sticking with Fred. But now all the rumors are swirling again, going, yeah, well, there must have been performance clauses. It might have been a case of if we finish fourth this year, Freddie, that contract is null and void, or
Yeah,
something to that effect. But let's touch on McLaren then quickly because, like I said, over the next couple of weeks, there's going to be plenty to talk about in Ferrari. Maybe I shouldn't have picked the picture of us all in Ferrari gear here in Monza as my background there if you're watching on YouTube. Um, that was not a good race for Ferrari either, as I seem to remember. Good race for Red Bull. Red Bull won the race. All of a sudden, they're back in the conversation. Mercedes, though, sorry, McLaren won the championship. the gloves are surely off now. This is the first race post winning the Constructors Championship where there is no more team. They do it for the team first. The drivers don't care about the team anymore. To their credit, the two of them, they're very good at mostly towing the line, at least publicly, on team comes first. We do everything for the team. Team comes first. Team come first. They've done that very well, I think, knowing that if they worked together for long enough and didn't absolutely murder each other. I know Lando had that blip in Canada, but he wasn't trying to murder him. Um, if they do it well enough, then they have a quarter of the season to just go hell for leather against each other, and they've done that now. And there'll be no papaya rules. I think there's twofold on this. After Singapore, is obviously Oscar got pissy the fact that Lando barged him out of the way and said that well that's not fair. How was he dodging Max and all that sort of stuff. I'm a Lando fan. I like Oscar too. I've read every single angle of this. That was a first turn, a second turn, lap one of the first race of the racing incident.
Yep.
He could have steered into him. He didn't. He twitched to so as to not hit Max, who was slamming the brakes a little bit by the looks of it. And he twitched and he hit Oscar. It wasn't malicious. It was an accident. There was nothing dangerous in it whatsoever. Oscar has done the exact same thing to Max earlier on this season. If you remember back to Saudi, I mean, the difference is he pushed him into the runoff. So I don't think Oscar, he was, he had to get in the radio, he had to have his little rant, but there was nothing in that. The other side of it is, all of a sudden, Lando's got his gloves off. He's quoting Ayrton Senna at everybody. I went for a gap. Anyone on the track would do that. Would do that move too. And if you wouldn't, you shouldn't be in Formula One. So, who comes out better now with this new gloves off attitude? Is it Oscar trying to, play the victim a little bit and say, "Oh, that was really unfair. Help me out here, lads. I'm in the lead. Keep helping me," or is it Lando Big Balls now?
Well, if you look in history of Formula One, any of the big winners in Formula One have an attitude and they're
That's
ruthless.
certainly true.
Ayrton Senna was ruthless. Michael Schumacher was ruthless. And did they stray over the line? Of course they did. Michael
Mm.
Schumacher got flung out of a championship because he got it wrong. But then he won multiple, and it's not the first thing you hear when you talk about Michael Schumacher, even regardless of his current situation at a
Mm.
personal level, but as the race driver, you don't think about that side of it first. You just think about he was, this and that, and he was genius, and he was ruthless, and he was very high standard. Ayrton Senna, very much similar. He was probably worse than Michael Schumacher with some of
Hmm.
the moves he did, especially against Prost in Japan. I think he'd done that a couple of times.
Twice in
When
Japan
they were
alone.
teammates and when they
Yeah.
were in Ferrari, he didn't wait. He done it in the first corner and won his championship. Michael Schumacher at least waited until he knew he was out and then hit Damon Hill. So you can't be a nice guy and expect to win a title.
Mm.
You can't also be pissy, as you say, to your team because the other guy. I mean, I saw it and I looked and thought, oh, there's a wee bump, and then I was laughing. Then we looked at the replay. I'm like, he clipped Max because Max was going a
Mm.
bit slower in front of him, and then that caused him to hit the wheel,
If he'd hit
which,
Max, they'd have all been out. If
yeah,
he'd hit Max, Max would have twitched right, and Oscar would have gone into the back of Max anyway. So actually, he did Oscar a favor. You could look at it that
no,
way.
he did, but also he kind of positioned himself. He was coming across because I think it was at Paul di Resta in the sky pad that showed that he saw Lando coming to the left, so he kind of went over and changed the line a wee bit to try and narrow it because where he was going isn't where you would normally go on the right
Mm.
hand apex. Uh, but it does show there's a bit of a there was a lot of things blown up over that weekend, like the celebration on the podium for the team and
Which was
what
nothing
was
to do with Lando. We'd get that out of the
was
way straight away.
yeah
It was nothing to do with McLaren either. It was the TV direction decided to send them up.
yeah TV or Formula One or somebody went right on you go up. It wasn't even supposed to be with the drivers, from what I
Nope.
heard. It was supposed to be just the team, but unfortunately, as we were heading up, Lando was there, Oscar was in the media pen, and that's just how it worked. And of course, social media went on to this.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, it's a lose-lose for Lando. Lando wins the championship, gets the balls out, gets more ruthless. he was favoured by McLaren, or McLaren are happy because Zach's golden boy, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
And it probably won't be that. Whoever wins this, it's the mental capacity. Piastri needs to be ruthless and not go on about do us a favour. Shut
Hmm.
up. Why? Like, okay, a couple of things didn't work in very well for you. The Monza situation with the swapping of the pit, was it Monza or Imola? Whatever one
Yeah,
it was,
Monza,
where
unfortunately.
they where they swapped things around because of slow pit stops. Like that was McLaren just creating a situation that there was no need to create. It wasn't
Yep.
done on purpose. And then what people forget is the radio communications are very picky and choosy. It's not them all. So the fact that they've aired the part with Lando Norris being asked, is it okay to pit Oscar first, and it's been blown out, and like they've done that all the time because the
Hmm.
driver who's in front of the other driver gets first refusal. So if that's the rule they always go with, then what they've asked Norris is 100% what they should have done. They
Mm.
probably shouldn't have asked him. They probably should have just put Norris in because that's how it works. But maybe they were trying to see if they could do something to appease Piastri. But well, Norris has got every right to go no,
Mm.
because obviously there's discussions had before they go out about rules of engagement and things like that. So yeah,
And
it's
I
this
think
weekend will be interesting.
it will be. And I mean, as I said, the Lando was on pole here last year when he was in his kind of never going to happen charge for the championship against Max. This year, he's very much in the charge for the championship against Oscar, and he once again finds himself chasing as the underdog. Obviously, in a much better position. He's got, well, three times more points than he had, and he's 24 points behind, is he?
Yeah, it's
Um,
about a race win.
Oscar is he's 22 points behind. Lando's on 314. Oscar's on 336, which is 24 if I have done my maths correctly, which I think I have. Anyone who thinks Max is catching them is on 273 points.
No,
Couple of DNFs, maybe. Max is not winning this championship because he is about the same distance behind Oscar as Lando was at this same point last year to him, to Max. And everyone said last year, there's not a hope in hell, not even Max Verstappen could close that gap. Yeah, Max Verstappen can't close that gap. Quote me on this if I'm wrong, but I'm not.
well,
There's not enough.
before Singapore, he had to win every race, including the sprint, and then he would
Yes,
win it by like 2 points. But then he's lost to Singapore, so now he has
exactly.
to wait on. Now he has to hope favours,
He
which
needs the
isn't going to happen.
He needs the McLarens to shunt each other out in at least like three races, like both of them double DNF, which isn't going to happen. So it just won't because I don't like they're not the two of them aren't erratic drivers. Um,
No.
yes, Lando might be a little bit more in his head than Oscar, but that those cracks are well seen now in Oscar. I think we can all appreciate and agree on that. He's still the cooler head, but I think since Singapore, the cracks in the robot have definitely shown. Um, but there's no way Max is winning this championship. It's just it's between the two McLaren boys, and from McLaren's point of view, it has to be. Um,
Yeah.
if they like to a certain extent, obviously they can't be seen to be publicly picking favorites, and I don't think they will, and I don't think they would even have that in their mind. And anyone who said, "Oh, they favor Lando," they don't from a racing point of view. But I have seen a comment that said that they favor Lando because he's the golden boy of McLaren. He stuck through them through thick and thin, and people recognize that, and fans appreciate that. But
Mhm.
on genuinely a really cynical level, Lando Norris is more marketable than Oscar Piastri. And what is Zach Brown? He is a marketing expert. He's not a
Yeah.
CEO. He's not an accountant. He's not a world-class businessman. He's a marketeer and a damn good one. Compare the car when he took over to the car now. Look at how many bloody stickers are on it. That is all Zach Brown. And Lando Norris is more marketable. Objectively, he's a better looking young lad than Oscar is. He's way more outgoing. He's way more personable. He has more of a personality
Mhm.
to put him on camera in front of sponsors. That's it. If you want to say that means Zach favors Lando, fine. I agree with you on that. That does not mean that if Oscar is winning in Abu Dhabi and Lando is 7 points behind and he's second, that Zach is going to tell Oscar to move out of the way because we need Lando to win the championship because it's better for branding. You're an idiot if you think that. I'm sorry. It's just the facts of it. That's not how they go racing. But he is a more marketable person outside of the car.
He is, and that, as you say, that is a big part of it. So, uh, like, do you blame Zach for having a soft spot for Lando Norris though?
Not, of course not.
Absolutely not. Like, look at the way they behaved when they behaved. That sounds bad, but look at the way they reacted to the podium in Austria during the COVID year. Like, we were all celebrating. We all watched that last lap. We all watched them screaming and shouting, and it kind of touched. At the time, everyone was celebrating it and enjoying it and thinking it's great. And now they're like, "Oh, look at the golden boy! Look, he wasn't even smiling when Oscar Piastri was up at the podium." Like, how many times in life are we laughing at something and then maybe we get in our own head or maybe we zone out for a second and then somebody takes a picture and goes, "What's wrong with you?" Absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
Maybe Zach was thinking about something else. Like maybe he would prefer to see Lando up there and 100 points ahead. But is he going to engineer it to make sure Lando wins? Absolutely not,
Not
because
a
he
hope in
can't.
hell. No.
He can't. And all they need to do is make sure next year whoever wins it, the other driver gets the same opportunities. Because the best way, for the best will in the world, or the best way for a team to engineer it, you look at Vettel and Webber. Like, they just didn't give them the same car. That has
Mm-mm.
never happened in McLaren. They both
Nope.
get the same machinery. They both get the same opportunities.
And not
And
even as his manager can Mark Webber claim that that has happened to Oscar Piastri because you could be damn sure if he even got whiff of that, he would be the one to leak it because there's no way he'd
oh
let it happen
yes,
again. So anybody who thinks that Lando's getting preferential treatment, not with Mark Webber on the other side of the garage, he's not.
Mark Webber would have that on the spider sense because he's been through it and he would
Oh,
say, "We've
100%.
all seen it." The multi-21 conversation, not bad for a number two driver in the press conference, sitting next to Vettel.
Yep.
You know, like
After getting his wing taken off him and given to Vettel, and then he goes and
uh,
wins the race. Yeah.
so like
If you don't know what
fans
we're
need.
talking about, go back and watch was it 2012? See, just watch a review video of the
Yep,
Vettel and Weber time in Red Bull, the 2010 to 2013 seasons. Um,
that's a good plug for F1 Access for the UK folk. Couple of quid a month. Go back and watch that kind of stuff. Watch some of the
totally worth
soap
it.
opera stuff. It's
And
it's worth it for
and
that.
then you'll understand that there's no shenanigans going on in McLaren because Mark Webber would call it, would spot it. And now what I will say is another reason that I could maybe see them favoring Lando a little bit is just the team around him. Now, I can understand Mark Webber, Oscar Piastri is an incredible talent. He 100% does. If he wins the championship this year, he absolutely deserves it. If he wins one in 2 years, in 10 years, whenever he does eventually win one, I think he has got a championship in him. No question at all. He's a phenomenally good driver. Nobody who's watched Formula One for the past 3 years could do anything other than agree with that. Or Formula Two, or Formula Three. The kid's very, very good. And he is still a kid. He's only 23. So
Something like
24.
that.
It's only his third season in Formula One. Um, so Mark Webber's playing the game. He's knocking on the doors of everywhere else, and this will lead me nicely into the next team I want to talk about. Um, but already, there's a slight crack. Lando has a slight nudge, and already the immediate paddock talk is Mark Webber's been into Ferrari. Mark Webber's been into Mercedes. What's going on? So I'm not saying anything happened. I'm not saying it's being done, but you never saw anything about Lando Norris's dad or his manager going knocking around with Red Bull when Oscar was winning last year or when Hungary happened or any shit like that. Lando's team's immediate reaction is not, well, Beckett, I'm out. I'm done. You
Yep.
don't treat me right. Oscar's team have been, for whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. The media run around him has been that it didn't go Oscar's way, so his team are looking for an out. That's not how you get the team to back you.
No.
They're not
You
going
just
to engineer him out of the championship, but that is not how you endear yourself to the team.
no. The minute it gets hard for you, you're going to disappear. Like, let's not go down that route, please. Let's
And
just
all that's going to do is fuel the media, fuel the circus, fuel the questions in the pen, fuel everything. And again, Oscar is very good. He's a cool, calm, and collected character, but he has been cracking in the past couple of months. We've seen it, we've watched it, we've heard it. He's no longer the smiley, blah, like
Mm-hmm.
Australian Kimi Räikkönen. He is getting more feisty, he's getting more aggressive, he's getting more angry, and good for him. He maybe needed it to get a bit of personality, but it's very clearly out of frustration, and that frustration will turn into lack of performance. When Lando Norris is sitting there going, "I'll be here forever, lads, so I'll take this win and that win and this win," and boom, Lando Norris is the champion, and Oscar Piastri will leave immediately.
Yep. And that doesn't reflect well on Oscar. It
No,
doesn't
not at all.
reflect well on his reputation. It won't reflect well on his legacy. Because let's face it, Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris are going to be in the grid for a long, long time, unless something weird goes on.
Mhm.
So doing that kind of thing now is not what you do. Like Vettel did it when Daniel Ricciardo appeared at Red Bull and started, and he just took the hump. Went to Ferrari a year earlier than I got out of his contract a year earlier because he wasn't happy and moved on. You know, arguably Ricardo did it and went to Renault and look where he is now. Like
Mhm.
a good way to ruin your reputation and ruin your legacy and your career in Formula One is to make those emotional snap decisions.
Yeah, stomp
Okay,
out.
and like Lewis Hamilton could have done it in 2021, and nobody except maybe Max Verstappen fans would begrudge it. They would get
Mm.
it because we all know what happened back then. But what did he do? Shut down his social media, got got away from it all, just took himself completely out of it, came back, and continued to race on. Obviously, the Mercedes situation. Every team and every relationship has that end date.
Mm.
But do you want to engineer it to come out? I mean, I know there was the Ferrari rumor about Piastri a while before that, before the Singapore weekend, that it popped up somewhere. I wasn't able to verify if it was anything more than just clickbait. That apparently Ferrari have considered Piastri if they decide the Lewis Hamilton situation isn't going to work out. Whether that's next year, the year after, because I think Lewis has only got a couple of year contract. If my memory serves me correctly.
Mhm.
But if Mark Webber's jumping into other teams just because they had one weekend that was a bit tough and didn't quite go his way, like, come on.
Yep.
I thought he was a bit tougher than that.
I
That's a bit bad, in honesty.
I thought so too, and so to the point there, I said this would bring us on to the main other thing I want to talk about was Mercedes, and I've said it a few times this year. George Russell is having the season of his career.
Yep.
Anyone coming into this season or during this season who still had questions about George Russell, you might not like him as a person. I don't personally get that at all. Um, or you might think he's not worth the hype. George Russell is he is best of the rest at the moment, outside the top three. And bear in mind, the top three is a four-time world champion and the two drivers in one of the best Formula One cars of all time. Um, and he's only, what, 50 points behind Max? He's comfortably ahead of Charles Leclerc in fourth. He's not getting caught for fourth. All that's going to happen is if that Mercedes continues that form of Singapore for the next couple of races, he might actually catch Max or Lando. It's unlikely, but I think anybody who still had doubts about George Russell needs to give their head a wobble after this season. He's been brilliant. And he and Kimi Antonelli, which would be a little bit surprising, but it's a show of support from Toto, have both signed on for 1 year. Now, this is interesting. Why did they do that? Okay, it was announced today. Today? Yeah, today.
Yes, today.
As we record, 15th of October, that both of them have signed on for the 2026 season only.
Mm.
Why?
Because Total Wolf has a thing for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and potentially Oscar Piastri as well.
Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen. It doesn't bode very well for confidence in your driver lineup. I don't think they had much of a choice when it came to Antonelli, regardless of his performance, because
Hmm.
he bigged him up something chronic last year. 5 minutes into his first ever, test in FP1, bins it, and then
Shanked it into the wall.
straight away, far too fast, whee, done. And then the next day, they announced that he was signing for next year, which purely was PR to get rid of the heat from him. Well, not that daft. Even normal people that watch the Formula One and not
Mm.
involved in it, in that side of it. But they didn't really. They've put themselves into a corner with the way they hyped up Antonelli, and I think it's clear that he probably should have done maybe an FP and an F2 season, regardless. Just let him get involved, just enjoy it. Do like a 12-month sim FP1s proper kind of.
Or put him in Williams and put Carlos Sainz in the Merc.
Even that, if Carlos was agreeable to that for a year or whatever, even a year with an option of another. If
Mm.
Antonelli's like they put George for 3 years,
3 years, yeah.
and they kind of were like, that's a bit much. But
The
look at the
third year
work,
certainly was, yeah.
yeah, so. But they've made their bed with Antonelli, so there wasn't really
Yeah.
much of a choice there. 2026, it's the new it's a clean slate with the new cars. We still really don't know much about them and what they're
No,
going
and you
to be
can
like.
totally understand even just for even if the drivers weren't necessarily performing, you can totally understand any team keeping their driver lineup and not wanting to rock the boat because they're all in a learning curve. They all have a clue how next year is going to go. I don't think even the cars have been agreed on yet. There's still
No,
so much
not
changes.
completely.
People are
Yeah.
complaining left, right, and center about this X mode, Z mode thing and the engines and are they powerful enough and are you just going to crash into each other at the end of the straight in Bahrain? Probably. And we're in the middle of October and this is all going to test in February. So the last thing the teams want to be doing, especially a team that, if the rumors are to be believed, might be fighting up the front, the last thing they want to do is get a new driver up to speed, even if the alternative is George Russell, who's very, 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 very good, and Kimi Antonelli, who's let's be polite and say, a very raw talent. Um, so I can
Splashy
understand
second
that
year for Antonelli.
certainly. I mean, he has his first podium in Formula One, and he has a pole, he has a sprint pole, which yes is a sprint pole, not a pole. I'm not having that argument again.
We're not going down that road again.
We're not going down that road again.
No.
But it'll be interesting to see now in the next couple of races because I think there's a late silly season to come, whether that's Charles Leclerc knocking on someone's door or Lewis Hamilton decides enough is enough or whatever. But yeah, I think there's a
Yeah, I
twist yet
think
in
you're
the end
right.
of the year.
There's a curveball coming, and
And the big one could be if Lando Norris steals the march, at least takes the lead. If he doesn't even necessarily like, might not wait till he wins the championship. But if Oscar and Mark Webber get the inkling that McLaren are helping Lando, which again I won't believe for a millisecond, that's not how they go racing. But if they got the inkling of it and said, we're out, then any team on the grid, Red Bull in particular, Ferrari, Mercedes, probably all on their drivers say, if any of these drivers, Lando, Oscar, Max, George, Charles, come available, you're out. Don't care who you
yep.
are, you're out. We want them. That's usually how these clauses work. So I think there's a twist in the tail yet.
I think any time there's going the McLarens are now on the road together, regardless of where they are, a bit like your Alpines or you're a bit like when it was in 2021 again that season. Anytime Max and Lewis were next to each other, something happened,
Yeah.
and I think if Oscar comes off in a similar vein, even in his own perception, like Singapore, then they're going to start engineering things. A bit like what social media did after Singapore. I was on Twitter and I was like, for goodness sake, I ended up stop replying because I'm like,
Hmm.
that's not how that worked out. That's not what they're engineering headlines and opinions because of things that they don't know enough about. But if perceptions keep going for even Max, because obviously not Max, Mark Webber and Oscar Piastri, sorry, their perceptions were negative.
Hmm.
So clearly, Mark Webber saw something, or he perceived something to be negative against his driver, and obviously his job is to protect his driver. And I don't think it is what he saw. He just wanted to see something.
Yeah. I think that's a
So,
fair way to put it.
and if that happens again, if something happens in Kota, could be innocent enough. They'll say the right things outwardly because let's face it, they're employed by McLaren and they've got
Mm.
to do these things. But behind the scenes, they're doing this on purpose. They want that. They want this. They want that. They want to have a last race decider or whatever it is. You know, they will start looking elsewhere. And as you say, like the big wigs within. Ferrari made their money back with the Lewis Hamilton experiment the minute they signed him with the stock, the stock bump and everything else. So they've got the money. Even without that, they have the money to pay Lewis off if they think we can get Oscar Piastri in here.
Hmm.
We can get Christian Horner to steady this ship and organise it. Whether Christian would be as good a success in Ferrari, very different pressure, very different setup. He's not going to have the same anonymity that you had at Red Bull to build it the way you wanted. But there may be something there. There may be just a fresh change or whatever. That's another conversation we'll have down the line, I'm sure. But like as you say, most of the teams outside of McLaren will be like, if he comes up available, we're taking him. Don't care what it costs, we'll take him. We'll figure it out.
And there's one other twist, which I think is going to play into a little bit of a late season, silly season, and it's also to do with McLaren. It's Alex Dunne, actually,
Mm.
the young Irishman. Very proud of how he's performed this year. He's been excellent. After let's say reliability smacked season in Formula 3 last year, which was we watched Formula 3 last year. He got so unlucky on so many occasions. It didn't take away from his speed, which McLaren clearly noticed. Signed him to the development program and put him in Formula 2 this year, and he's been excellent. He's got 2 wins and 7 podiums. Very, very good. He's had his, let's say, clashes with a few of them on particularly is it it's the French guy Marty, Victor Martins. They've come together a little bit more often than Lewis Hamilton and Felipe Massa in 2011. It feels
Totally.
like. But Dunn's had a good year. McLaren are impressed with him, and now he's been dropped or he's left the program by mutual agreement. Very,
Immediately.
very suddenly.
Yes. Very
The
suddenly, very immediately, very much, he's gone.
Yes. Now, he will finish the Formula 2 season, finish the last 2 races. Possibly not in orange, though. They might just paint his car, whatever. Who's he drive for? They'll just paint his car in their colors.
They'll do the corporate colours.
Yeah,
His overall, so either have all the sponsors off them. They might be orange, but they'll not have any of the sponsors or anything like that on it.
yeah,
Probably like
exactly.
that.
But so this is the thing about it is he's having a good season. He's probably too far out to win to win Formula 2 this year, but he's still in with a shot of probably the top three. Unless something dramatic happens, he could still win it. I don't think McLaren were going for him to win it this year. They wanted him to show a significant step up in Formula 3, and I think it's perfectly fair to say that he's done that. McLaren have put him in the Formula 1 car twice this year already, including in Monza. Um, so they have been big fans of his. They've given him lots of support, and it's mutual. The rumor mill, obviously, because silly season is all rumors, is that the only thing that could have possibly got him out of that seat mid-season with 2 races to go and probably another year in Formula 2 to come under his belt. Bear in mind, he's only 19. Um, is that there is an F1 seat for him in 2026 or 2027 with a development role in 26. Where do we think? What rumors have we seen on this?
The only one I've heard of is Red Bull.
Okay.
And that seems to be the general consensus was that he was talking to other teams. Some people weren't overly surprised. Some people were when I was kind of chatting on our Slack and with the other guys in the team and just looking in socials. But a bit more of a surprise than not. But the people that were a wee bit in the know, I don't know a lot about F2. It's not something I follow out religiously. But there seems to be. I think one comment was, yeah, he's been talking to teams for a while. So clearly there's been an agreement because you can talk to teams. There obviously is that opportunity to talk to other teams when you're an F2 or when you're a younger development driver. The fact that he's given up McLaren is probably a smart thing for Alex because if everything, like at the moment, there is no reason to think that Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are getting away from McLaren
Mm-mm.
anytime soon. And they're in the
Which is why they
relatively,
let Gabby Bortoleto go last year in the
yeah,
exact same situation.
yeah, they've obviously looked and went, I'm not sitting for 5, 10 years. My career will be done by
Mm-mm.
the time this happens. And somebody else younger than me will be in and they'll, I'm missing out. It's a bit like the Andy Murray thing in tennis. If he was
Mm.
born at a certain time, he'd probably have won more. But he was born, when Djokovic and Rafa Nadal were winning everything. And it's just, luck of the draw and genetics and timings and generations and whatever. But as we all know, Formula One grids are getting younger and younger and younger, and drivers are staying on it for 5, 10, 5, 15 years, whatever. Never happened in the past. You're lucky if you got 5 seasons, and then there would be a way and somebody else would come in. You have 1 year, you're gone. If you drove for Frank Williams, you won a championship, you still got sacked.
Mhm.
It just doesn't happen like that anymore. So Alex has clearly been given, as you say, there has to be some kind of agreement that he's getting something next year that's
Mm.
more beneficial to his longer term, medium term plan than what McLaren can give him. Because McLaren can't give him any assurances he's getting in Formula One other than the FP1, FP2.
And that's where
Haas
Red
got
Bull
the FP.
have the big advantage is obviously they have two teams with very insecure seats, but as a rookie, you don't care. You just want to get into a Formula One car and prove your worth. Now, conveniently, 4 hours ago, as we record, Formula One did put up the um, confirmed lineups for next season. And guess which team has which group has 3 seats free for next year?
That would be Red Bull.
It would indeed be Red Bull. Interesting, Alpine already also have a seat free as well. We don't really care about them, and I'm pretty sure Alex Dunne is more than savvy enough to not want to touch them with the 25-foot barge pole. Um, but yes, Red Bull unconfirmed on a lot. I think we could all pretty safely agree that Isaac Hadjar is not leaving that family. That group. I think they'd be insane to get rid of Isaac Hadjar. I think he's been one of the drivers of the season. And when we did our mid-season review, a lot of people agreed with me on that. I think we placed him third overall, didn't we, in our joint rankings or something like that?
I'm sure I had him relatively high in the reviews,
It's
to be honest.
quite high. So Isaac Hadjar, do I think they should promote him to Red Bull? No, I don't. Do I think it's going to happen anyway? Yes, unfortunately, I do.
Probably not.
Because they've
Yuki
no other
Tsunoda,
options.
Yuki Tsunoda more than likely going.
Yeah. Yuki's best case is he's following Honda to Aston for a bit of a holiday into their garage and maybe a turnout in the Valkyrie at some point. Um, which is not unlikely, I think. So Yuki's gone.
Liam
Hajar,
Lawson 50-50, Hadjar
Lo
probably up to Red Bull, and then you put Alex Dunn into the racing bulls along with Lawson.
Alex Dunn, and potentially who's there? Lindblad.
Hmm?
Potentially Lindblad is their other is the young F2 driver. He's had a good season as well. He's got one feature race victory. Where are you in that? In Barcelona, which was a good race. It was very, very good. It was a mental race. It was a safety car for 25 seconds. Lindblad held his nerve, made an overtake towards the end, won that race. And he's seventh at the moment in the F2 Championship on 109 points. Alex Dunn is fifth on 130 points. And just for reference on all that, Leo Fornaroli is leading on 188 points. So the way Formula Two works, it is absolutely not impossible because there's a sprint and a feature race every weekend. So there's 18 plus 25, I don't know, do the maths. Lots of points on offer
Hmm.
still. 30, is it 37, but 34 points a weekend or something like that when you add in fastest laps and stuff like that. So there's plenty of points left on offer. The last two Formula Two rounds will be in Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Just a couple of weeks ago yet. It's about like a month and a half yet until the next Formula Two race. Plenty of time to be doing a bit of business and contracting for next year.
Yep.
But I would imagine that a Lindblad, Alex Dunn RB lineup is a little bit more likely than Liam Lawson being anywhere near that team. And Hajar steps up to Formula One, to Formula A,
Yep.
up into the Red Bull. That's one option. The other option is I saw somewhere that like Caddy have given him a test driver role with a promise of a contract for the following year if Sergio Perez or Valtteri Bottas don't perform as expected. That seems less likely, much less likely. I think the Cadillac having an Irishman would work very well for them. It would certainly appease a lot of their fan base, who all claim to be Irish, which they're not. But they'd certainly play it up with they'd put him in a leprechaun outfit on Paddy's Day at the start of the season. But no, I think Red Bull is more likely, and there's just no other reason to mutually remove yourself from the best team in Formula One, from connection with the best team in Formula One, unless it's to guarantee yourself a drive in Formula One.
It has to be. Like, there's no. Why would you cut ties? And there's no reason for McLaren to cut ties with him either.
Mm-mm.
Like, it would have to have came for the driver to want to progress his career, whether it be like, I'm not getting in the Formula One seat, as we said, with
Mm.
McLaren because the driver lineup we've got. So I need to go somewhere where there's an opportunity to do that. And as you say, the best opportunity out of a 10, 11 team grid for next season is the team or the company that has 4 cars
Yeah,
and
and
with three seats available. So,
the other thing on it as well is we've spoken about this before of like McLaren letting Gabby Bortoleto go, having won the F2 championship last year, having won Formula 3 the year before. Um, Bortoleto is a good talent. They let him go for nothing. There's a gentleman's agreement in there somewhere that says, Gabby, you can come home if we need you. Um, and again, marketing, Zach has it in there somewhere that, let them go, keep a good relationship with them. And when we come knocking in 3 years' time, when Lando and Oscar have swanned off, then we have, you know, someone like Gabby Bortoleto and Alex Dunne, having already done their rookiness in Formula One, got that out of the way, primed to get back into a McLaren.
yep.
Is that going to happen in the same year? No, but again, Zach Brown is a smart operator, and that wouldn't surprise me to see something like that. Now then, we will finish up just in a sec. I will give you the schedule for this weekend, and while I'm doing that, Coops, have a little bit of a think about your predictions for the weekend, please.
Okay.
So, the schedule for this weekend, UK Ireland time, as always. Practice one is this Friday, the 17th of October at 6:30 in the evening. So, nice evening, afternoon for you after work. Sit down with a cup of tea or a glass of wine, enjoy practice because it's a sprint weekend, which we didn't even mention. There's no real point. But it is a sprint weekend. Sprint qualifying is on Friday evening at 10:30, which is late enough, but it's only sprint qualifying, so it'll only be about 45 minutes. So you can still get to bed. Saturday, the 18th of October, then is the sprint race at 6 o'clock in the evening, and qualifying for the main race is at 10 o'clock on Saturday night. And then the race is at 8 p.m. on Sunday evening, which again is a lovely time for a Grand Prix for those of us of a European disposition. Very polite of Formula One to keep thinking of us in that way, except Vegas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so if you are going to Texas, please let us know. Please send us pictures. It's very, very high on my list of where I'd love to go. To the Grand Prix, not necessarily to Texas. But COTA is a special track. It's as you said at the start, Coops. It's a Tilkedrome that worked, and it's pretty much the only one other than Istanbul Park. But we don't go there anymore, sadly. But it's
Sepang as well. Come on.
okay. So yeah, but you forget that was his first one, was it not? That's
That's
before he did.
1997 or something. That was
That's
like
before he
20 years ago.
decided to invent the term of Tilkedrome and just copy and paste everything. But yes, it's a fantastic track. I'm looking forward to see Formula One cars. I'd love to see them live. So if you are going, send us some pictures and videos. Now then, Coops, your predictions, please, for pole position.
George Russell. And this is for the Grand Prix, by the way.
Yes, we won't bother with the sprint. Okay, pole position for George Russell, and then
Yes.
your give me a sprint winner, and then the top three for the race.
I never wrote down the sprint winner, so I'm going to go with Leclerc as a sprint winner
Okay.
because I'm wearing the shirt,
And
and you'll see why I'm doing that just shortly.
your top three in the race?
Max Verstappen, George Russell, Oscar Piastri.
Interesting. Right. Well, I am going to go for Lando Norris on pole position for the main race. Um, I think George Russell will win the sprint. My top three for the race is going to be Lando Norris, George Russell, and Oscar Piastri.
So I'm going to stop you from leaving. I need a wild card and I need your best rookie because that's what we've done all season.
Ooh, yes, you
My
did.
my wild card is Ferrari will get no points in the Grand Prix.
Oh, now I see
But
your sprint decision.
I'm not doing a wild card for the sprint because that's why I put Leclerc because there's a
Hmm.
bit of guilt. I'm wearing the shirt. But I'm not saying they'll DNF. I just don't think they'll have a good weekend. I just
Okay,
there's something
fair.
wrong with the car. So, and my rookie that will do the best this year is Hadjar, which is not really that difficult a decision, to be honest.
No, it's not. My wild card, I am going to say Carlos Sainz finishes top six because I think he's found his form now.
Hmm.
And my rookie of the race is going to be Gabby Bortoleto because we've been speaking about him there, and I just feel like this is the sort of track that should suit him. Uh, he's got a nice Jensen Buttony, smooth as butter kind of a style to him. So I think that first sector is going to suit him well.
Before you go, you've got a thing on for the YouTube people, so you want to give a shout out to your pals and what to
Yes,
keep them under.
I give a final shout out on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, we are of course running a subscriber competition. Once we hit 500 subscribers, we will be giving away a Lego Speed Champions F1 set, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is subscribe. That's it. Everything F1, all one word on YouTube. Hit subscribe, and you will be in with a chance of winning that Lego set. They're great little yokes. I've about six of them myself already. They're very, very easy to put together. They make for a good gift, and they color up your wall, especially if you're a big F1 fan.
And if you can't
And
get the team, we'll have a chat with you because you know what Lego are like. Some are easier to get a hold of than others, but we'll have a chat if we have an issue.
we will prioritize giving you the team of your choice because, of course, all 10 of the 2025 season teams are available in Lego form. Well, in mini Lego form anyway, which is cool. So, yes, head over to YouTube, Everything F1, all one word, and hit subscribe, and you'll be in with a chance to win that set. That'll do it for us. Thank you very, very much for listening. Thank you for joining me, Coops. If you're going to the US Grand Prix, enjoy it. Take pictures, share back with us. Otherwise, like us, enjoy the nice evening weekend of schedule this weekend for the Texas Grand Prix. We'll be back next week with our review of the race. Hopefully, not too much fireworks, but we do like a bit of drama, and they always go big in America. So I'm sure we'll have something big to talk about after this one. That'll do it from
Hopefully.
us. We will talk to you next week. Bye now.